Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. We are here to recap the Oklahoma Sooners season-ending 34-24 loss to the Alabama Crimson Tide, the first round of the college football playoff. I'm Bobby. Jameson's with me. Jameson, we had it all, man. We had it all. It was right there. Up 17. Everything felt like it was rolling. Owen Field was absolutely rocking, and it all just went away.
Yeah, that's football, man. The highs of highs and the lows of lows. And we can put everything under a microscope. And I mean, that's what you really expect from a podcast. But the grand scheme of things is things just didn't break our way. And it really sucks. And I still feel down in the dumps about it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's in the case of any sport, especially in a single elimination situation, the things that things could just go so sideways so quick, even with the most reliable things. Special teams has been something that the Sooners have been able to count on the entire season. And, you can talk about the whole, what was the, camel that broke the back moment. There are several, but when even the things that you can really count on start breaking the wrong way, you're just not going to win. You're just not going to win a football game. And this is one that I feel like is going to just linger all season long or all off season long. This isn't one where, you leave the game and you're like, you know what? Played a good game, but we'll get them next year. And I think there is some of that when you look at the macro of it all. But this game is going to really just stick in your craw for a good while.
It's because a lot of Sooner fans are just wounded. We're just wounded animals. We are tired of continuing to lose in the playoffs, and this is completely different. This is a completely different situation than that. But we just kind of wanted to break that mold. We wanted to change the opinion of Oklahoma. We've already changed so much of it this season. Like, just think about what this recruiting class, quote unquote, ranking in 2026 was and how much negative recruiting we had to deal with. And it's already seen 2027 that people are talking this could be at least, top 3, top 5 class, but a lot of people saying it's going to be number 1. Like, we've gotten over that mountaintop, but there's a lot of other demons that we really kind of wanted to squash, and this win would have done it. And unfortunately, a lot of people are going to use it against us, and it's the same old Oklahoma. You can't finish the job.
Yeah, and that's such a tricky narrative to me because I feel like overall, when you look at every single one of the playoff losses, you can point to a variety of things. It's not exactly like, those Sooners teams way back when were playing, the random team that snuck into the playoff. It was always a championship contender, an Alabama, a Clemson, Georgia on the upswing that, was a play away from winning a national title. LSU, the best team in college football history. So it's like, this one was the most attainable by far. You're at home. You had a 17-point freaking lead. And it hurts because this is an Alabama team that was wounded, that was vulnerable, and at the same time was unbelievably talented and one you have to put away. And they just didn't. And that narrative, it's going to stick. It's going to stick around. I mean, our entire life, you've heard the whole Choklahoma thing, slapped on this team. We've lived through it from, those early national title losses to Boise State, the whole hook and ladder, all that crap. And it's tough. It's tough. I believe the stat is OU is 4-11 in their previous 15. So, and previous 15 major bowl games or playoff games. So just awful. But I think you can't really compare those Bob Stoops teams to this one. This is a team on the upswing. This is a team getting better. And, I think it's going to be really hard to reconcile with these two things, the brutal loss, but also the overall fantastic season that the Sooners had.
Yeah, I think you talked about macro earlier, and I think that's where a lot of Sooner fans, well, you can get to it in about a week or now. Like, you got plenty of time, but I mean, you can be upset, but the macro is going to be the biggest thing here. You know, it's the micro obviously is like there's a lot of anger, and you're listening to the devil on your shoulder, and people are wanting to burn the whole world down right now. You know, completely gut our whole offense and the whole offensive staff. And I think there's a place for wanting to improve us, but kind of get more into the macro side. Let's get somewhere in the middle. Let's be a little bit more tame. And the macro of it is change is not linear, Bobby. And we were a team that had 7 losses last year. And in a very, very delicate situation coming into one of the hardest schedules, what was it, number 3 hardest schedule coming into the year, with a perfect opportunity to fail and completely crumble. And Brent Venables went out there and completely changed what Oklahoma's view, like everyone's view of Oklahoma, to be one of the best defenses in the country that puts offenses in hell. And we still saw that in this game. And I think that will continue to show in the transfer portal, and will continue to show in recruiting, that people will want to come and play at Oklahoma because of what people saw this season. And you should be excited as a fan, because this is a recruitment class that has a little bit of Brent Venables' fingerprints on it, but not fully yet. You're going to start to see it more and more, that these are going to all be Brent Venables guys that he can recruit at a high level. And you're going to start to see some really, really damn good defenses. And I think you can see it again next year too.
Yeah, no, and I think overall there is optimism about the program going forward. And I don't want to jump too far into that yet, because I feel like we'll have more time to talk about it. But I mean, there really is. I mean, the program is moving in the right direction. Brent and his staff have proven that they can win tough games in brutal moments. They did that against Michigan. They did that against Auburn. Back when Auburn was kind of rolling and had a little bit of hype, had a little bit of hope. And then you have those massive 2 games at Alabama and Tennessee. Those are things you can't take away. Those are experiences. Those are lessons that I mean, could you imagine last year's team doing anything remotely positive at either of those places, Alabama or Tennessee?
No,
or
0.
Against any team with, that was on the level of any of this schedule. They have taken a massive leap. I can understand that you being upset about the loss. I totally get it. I feel it. But I mean, ultimately it's something that I feel like, instead of last year where it's like we need to completely overhaul an entire half of our offense or of our football team, we need to make a couple changes, and this team is very close to being national championship caliber. I mean, that first half, that first quarter we saw, that looked like a team that could make a damn run. If you somehow got that team for all of it for like an entire season, that is a championship level team.
Yeah, and I get it. Like, that's a lot to take, and you want to see the positive side of things, but not look at the other 2.5, 3.5 quarters that you have, or 2.5 quarters that you have there. But I think that a lot of people's hate and a lot of energy from this game is going to be directed towards John Mateer. Obviously, we saw it, Bobby, and in that pick 6. I'm going to kind of throw a different argument here, and I don't know if this is what listeners want to hear, but he made a mistake. There's probably a choice route on the sideline, and they had a miscommunication. It was horrible. Bad decision. But other than a couple of maybe just 1 or 2 more plays, John Mateer had zing. He was throwing in good holes in the zone. The dude was starting to look better. Like, we saw, if you want to talk about a slope of a line, Bobby, of an improvement since Texas game to now, it's improvement from John Mateer. And so if you're saying, oh, we need to completely wreck things, get rid of him, move on, no. How about we get some freaking continuity in this offense and stop revamping things every single year? And we're going to have the same problem again next year. Keep John Mateer. He's improving. Get him healthy. Get back confidence and see how he does next year.
No, I fully agree. And I think a lot of the initial feelings, are we want change. We need to fix this. We need to uproot this. And I don't think that works. I don't think the approach of completely trying to reset everything right away after something goes wrong works. I think there are multiple factors. One, I don't think it's going to happen that John Mateer is going to leave, or OU's going to drop him or anything like that, because clearly the staff likes him. So it's like kind of silly to even debate something that's just not going to happen. But two, I agree with you. I think the consistency is needed. We haven't had a player or a quarterback have back-to-back seasons since Dylan Gabriel, which isn't really that long ago, but it just doesn't happen often. He is the only quarterback to have started back-to-back seasons since Baker. So, it would be nice to have a second player do that, for sure. I think it takes time for the entire offense to work. I think getting more guys in the portal is going to be massive.
Yeah.
I mean, we were working off, a couple players, from, Arkansas, Pine Bluff, and, McNeese, and it's a different thing to try to sell guys.
Both some dudes. Don't talk to me about Jermichael Carter, the Alabama killer. Only comes out when it's time for the Tide to play.
I know. I like Jermichael. That was so great. I immediately texted you after that one. I'm not trying to dog him. I'm just trying to say that the profile of players available to you in this portal window, it's going to be a lot better. And I feel like this team.
What wide receiver would want to come play at Oklahoma after last season?
Yeah, I mean, totally unproven, total reset. Given new guy coming in, bit Arbuckle, but let's trusting that after the disaster we had. I mean, come on, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think really what it comes down to, Bobby, is we talk about NIL, and I think OU has a lot of NIL money, but obviously there's budgets and how much you can and can't spend. I mean, going out and revamping and getting a whole new quarterback is going to take a lot of your budget, and that's a risk in itself. You could end up on the positive side of it, but it could be bad. It could be really, really bad into a quarterback, into a system that he doesn't know, and comes in, has to learn it for one season, doesn't get a chance to improve on it, doesn't get a chance to kind of sit and mull with it like most quarterbacks did back in the day. Whenever you'd come in as a recruit, you learn the system, and then on year 2 or year 3, you get the reins, right? It's not like that anymore, and it's a lot to put onto a 20, 21-year-old kid. So I think that's just too much of a risk for me. And I do see a positive trend, and I get it. We hear people in the comments saying like, Mateer's been in this office 3 or 4 years. He hasn't been in this offense in the SEC. And if you think that this offense is the same offense that they're calling at Washington State, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that Arbuckle brought things over. Obviously, the skeleton's going to be the same, and said, you know what? I'm just going to do the same thing that I did against Washington State's opponents. You think that he's that unmalleable? This is still a different system in its core, and with a quarterback with a different weapons around him, different support, different defenses, a different injury on his hand that changes his whole confidence. There's so many moving variables to say that, John Mateer doesn't have an excuse because he knew the system is just stupid. I think it's just a stupid play. That you give him another year next year, he's going to improve because he's a human being and he's got a strong work ethic and has high aspirations. You hear him talk in the pregame. They did some really good stuff on ESPN about how much he had aspirations to be that dude, be the Heisman. He saw it last year. He's got a strong work ethic, and it's just I keep hearing these things, and I'm like, this is a guy I believe in. And the people who don't, you have every right to have that opinion, but I think those are just lazy takes.
I think that's fair, and I think no player is stagnant. And I mean, that's not true. If you are a stagnant player, you're not going to get better, especially in college. And to me, I feel like where you're at, you just trust Mateer to, run it back, give it another year. And, hopefully you can weed out a lot of these mistakes, because I understand there are some bad mistakes. That pick 6 was awful. There are guys he's missing all the time. I totally get that, but it's not like they're not solvable mistakes. I feel like, to me, you take the good and try to weed out as much bad as you can over the offseason and surround them with more weapons. Because it's not exactly like a very high-powered offense we had. We lucked out, or it was like, let's get it to Satania and hope he pops free maybe. And, outside of that, what weapons did OU have? The running back room was completely shot. We were running a linebacker at tight end, who, by the way, did a great job, all things considered, in Kanik. And then a wide receiver room that, was I mean, I'm not trying to say they were bad or anything. I thought they overachieved given what they were, but you know, we don't have we don't have studs like Alabama has. Like hell, Texas A&M has at times. Like you look around the SEC, especially at the tight end position, you just don't have that caliber of athlete, that caliber of weapon that you can rely on. And I'm not trying to make. I'm not trying to say it's only John Mateer, or it's not like John Mateer doesn't have any fault at all. But I feel like to me, it's a situation that I think you try to shore up the offense, shore up the talent around him, and go from there.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's where we really kind of need to look at here. Look at the peripherals. I gotta say in this game, Bobby, you got to give a lot of props to Deion Burks. I did not. I worried about him a lot this season. He had so much skill, but then there are just some moments he would disappear. And this was the guy, a year and I guess a half ago now, where we looked at him and go, this guy, like, he could be a first round draft pick. This guy looks amazing in the spring game and in the first games of last season. I get that silly and we overreacted a little bit, but like this guy looked so damn good and he's got the pieces. And in this game, like he made some really damn good catches and he came out there and showed out. So good for him. And I think
That
having a really
totality
good wide receiver who shows out like that and makes those plays makes your quarterback look a lot better. And like we threw for 307 yards in this game. And I think whenever you have a wide receiver with that kind of alpha personality and Deion Burks, it's a lot easier to look better.
Yeah, no, I mean you're right. Deion Burks had a great performance. It was awesome to see him. It was like, oh, there you are. But yeah, that catch was just, I mean, world class. I mean, insane stuff. And you wish you definitely had him operating on that level all season long. I think the offense would have looked a lot better. But maybe that's some progression right there. Because overall, the offense, outside of sputtering in the second half, they were pretty damn good. I mean, they outgained Alabama by quite a bit. So I'm pretty. I think the offense did a pretty damn solid job.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
just needs, honestly, it just needed to be more well-rounded.
On the back of no run game too. Like the run game was just absolutely atrocious. And it makes you think like you can come to this. We talked about before the game. Oh yeah. Xavier Robinson just had a sprained knee. Didn't have any games off of that. He came back with a knee brace. You would assume he'd be better. Torrey Blaylock had a shoulder injury, which I think is probably something that's going to need off-season addressing, probably surgery. I'm just assuming here. I know nothing just from reading tea leaves. It's probably a labrum surgery. It's probably going to be the same kind of thing you saw from like Jane Jackson last year, where he played the whole season, then he got surgery like the couple weeks after the season, and then came back for the start. Good for him the way that Torrey ran the ball, but Xavier didn't look like it was it. Like I was expecting he would be out there with the first team, wasn't, and then when he did get the ball, it looked like that same slow, didn't have that kind of cut to him. And it makes you think like, was this a knee sprain, Bobby? Like, why is there a knee sprain that took 0 games off, but continues to wear a brace now, like a month or so after this? Like that does not make sense in my head. Like significant knee sprains that require a knee brace like this, you should be not playing those first like 2 games after that. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It makes you think like, did Xavier Robinson have something that's chronic and needs to be addressed in the offseason as well? Like there's a lot of things that really handicap this run game and making it complete whenever you don't have anyone healthy and you have a nonsense guy named I'm not going to say his name actually. Screw that. Number 0 that really didn't do much for us. We didn't have much to choose from.
Yeah, I mean the options were literally bare. You had Barnes as well, who I guess suited up, but has kind of opted out, for the majority of the season. The room was in total disarray all year long. And, credit to Xavier Robinson for fighting through whatever he was fighting through knee-wise. And, Blaylock as well. Those are 2 guys who absolutely scrapped. And, those are 2 guys you really want on your football team. Absolute competitors for sure. So.
Yeah. And I think that I was a little bit disappointed too, talking about more weapons on this team. I wanted to see a little bit more from Satania, and I don't know how much that is scheme, and I don't know how much that is, like obviously the defense catching in on like, hey, if you take away Satania, all things will look a lot better. for you on defense because there's not too many other weapons on the offense that material can get the ball to and really show out. But it gets to the point where, Bobby, where it's like, do you really want to be in that position where it's like, if you don't have your star wide receiver go out there and do it, are you screwed? Like, are you going to be that handicapped? I don't want to be in that position. I think that we had a lot of guys show out, like we already mentioned, Jermichael Carter, like good for him, made some big catches across the middle, ran some good routes. I think Deion Burke showed out. But like you would still want a little bit more from this wide receiver room. You want one more guy. You want one more guy, an outside wide receiver, an X that can go out there and make it. And everyone talks about Cam Coleman, and I get it. That might be a pipe dream. But I think that a big time X wide receiver who's a possession guy can go out and get it is the biggest thing for us. And I think that that's what we missed in this game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. You're dead on. We haven't had like an outside wideout since like of that caliber since when? You know, what is the last time OU has had a guy like that? I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we've
CD.
had a lot of smaller wide receivers. You're right. And
Yeah.
CD is that guy, but still CD did some absolute damage in the slot as well.
Yeah.
So it's hard. And I think, yeah, Jimmy says in the chat, Elijah Thomas would have been
Yeah.
nice, but I mean, like, we don't know. We can assume a lot. And like, as a
Right.
freshman, he made a great play on special teams, but
Yeah.
you know, you don't know if like that guy's ready for the moment. Yeah. We put a lot onto a true freshman's shoulders.
Mhm.
And not
And I
everyone
don't
can
think you can
be,
make that assumption going into next
yeah.
year. You got to get somebody
Yeah.
who can really make an
Mhm.
impact early.
No, it's the way the day and the way the day and age is right now. Like you got to go out and get somebody, and it's got to be a big time player. And I get it. Like like the way that Jim Nagy is, Bobby, he's gonna love looking into the scraps, looking into those Arkansas Pine Bluffs, the McNeese States, like you said earlier, because that's what he did for the Senior Bowl. And I think that his staff's gonna be really good at that. But at the same time, like what we did for Jade Knott, or what the heck, he enters the portal and then he's committed to Oklahoma within the 24 hours. And that needs to happen with the wide receiver.
And an actually effective one, you know. I mean, I mean, people I don't want to keep bringing it up, but if Jade Knott is half effect, like I've heard people say it, I agree with it. If Jade Knott is even like 25% or 50% as effective as we thought he would be, you know, when my dumbass is ranking the, you know, running back room an A, you know, like if he was that good, if we got just even a decent like amount of production out of him, that this changes a lot. But
yeah, because whenever it comes down to, and you saw it with Alabama at the end of the season, whenever you have no run game, and that one, you have to rely a lot on your quarterback, and then B, the defense can completely scheme things out, and defenses and defensive coordinators and staffs have gotten so much smarter the past couple of years. The amount of effort they go into the back end to really scheme out and find weaknesses is at an all-time high, and if you have the running back room that Oklahoma had, you have the running back room that Alabama had, you have a possibility that bad things are going to happen, like what happened to us in this game, like it happened to Alabama and Tuscaloosa.
right. Yeah, no, I mean, you're right.
And we just can't have that opportunity again. And so, I mean, obviously we can sit here and we sit in our little chairs with the podcast mics in front of us and say, we got to have a better running back. I mean, it's really easy to say. It's going to be really freaking hard to do. It's going to be really, really hard to do. Like, I think Torrey and X next season will be much developed, and I think they're going to be great. But obviously that hole that Jade Knott leaves, and leaving obviously his little pile of money is 800,000 or whatever he took, like that's going to be shifted somewhere else. And who's going to be that next guy? I guarantee you they're going to bring another running back into this room. And it's hard. It's hard evaluating people at different colleges because you don't have all the tape. You don't have all the behind the scenes, and no one's going to really give you the behind the scenes that much because no one wants to lose their player to getting poached. And so
right.
we struck out on Jay Knott. We're going to try it again. And it's a risky game with the transfer portal era nowadays. And we're just going to hope that it works out. Not everyone can hit gold whenever you hit the transfer portal.
And I think maybe the strategy is to try to hit gold on tight end or wide receiver and, you know, get someone, you know, when you're really looking at, you know, kind of finding some diamonds in the rough, you know, maybe use that to supplement the Xavier Robinsons, the Blaylocks, you know, that sort of thing. And you go from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's I'm really curious. I think this obviously Sooner fans right now can be pretty darn disappointed with this game. We'll talk a little bit more in bits and pieces as we kind of bring in some big picture. But this is a really exciting roller coaster time for the Sooners of the next couple of weeks too, with the transfer portal and the ending of college football season. Like there's going to be some things that pop up out of nowhere that are going to get people's juice flowing right now. And I think that I want to bring it up again. There's a lot of you guys out there that are angry and have a lot of fiery and a lot of create like really big time takes. Good. Let them out. But at the same time, like we got to get towards the middle, guys. Not everything is so far to one side and so radical that we just need to burn everything down. Please,
I,
my God,
I
please.
will
I'm
say
just so sick of.
there do have to be changes, though. I think
Of course,
you
there has to
have
be changes, but it's not like burn everything down. It's got to be in the middle. Like, yes,
right.
like I
Yeah, no, I
think Joe
agree.
John Finley obviously was going to get gone. Like we knew that last year. It was crazy that he even showed up. Like
Yeah,
that's a change we know is going to happen. And we have a non-existent tight end room and non-existent tight ends that we kind of had to scrounge at the last second that weren't really that good. Look at Emma Jones. Like I don't think that we've been excited about his development. He might be looking elsewhere. Same thing with DeMarco Murray. I think all those things are fair. But the things about like talking game about Ben Arbuckle, this dude's a young guy who just came for his first year here. Those are big things. And like John Mateer, same category as him. Those are guys that I'm willing to just ride with right now and play that continuity game and have something to rather than tear everything down and then have another bad year where our defense next year could be a really, really special unit again that I feel very good about.
yeah. You can't just keep hammering the reset button over and over and over again and expecting something to work out. Like that's it's just untenable. You have to expect and have to try to build something, and that, and not only that, I know the offense wasn't great. It had issues. It is infinitely improved from what it was last year. And yeah, it's not where we want it to be. We have high standards. I agree. And you should have high standards. You should want better. But sometimes the way to get better is to just keep going and keep building on something. I mean, shoot, honestly, and this isn't 1-to-1. I'm not saying, oh, just because this guy did it, this means, Mateer will do it, because that got us in a ton of trouble whenever people compare him, out here comparing him to Baker Mayfield. But, season one, Joe Burrow didn't exactly light the world on fire at LSU. And he had a leap the next year. And, hell, in the NIL, portal era, there might have been some LSU fans ready to get rid of Joe Burrow year one. And that wouldn't have panned out very well.
Yeah, there's
So,
probably some clips out there of me talking trash about Joe Burrow at LSU.
yeah,
Actually, I know
I
there
bet
is.
there
I
are.
explicitly remember talking about it.
Yeah, no, there definitely are. And that's the thing. These guys aren't fully developed yet. Yeah, it takes some time. And I understand, like, he's been playing major college football to a certain degree for a couple of years. But I feel like it's something where you just have to buckle down and give it a go. You've kind of made your bed with it on this one. And, I don't think it's at a point like it was with Jackson Arnold last year or other situations where it was like, this is catastrophic and it needs to change because this is not going to work going forward. I just don't think he's at that level. It's not been good enough and he needs to get better. But
yeah.
that's what the offseason's for.
Yeah.
I do agree that you have to shift up the position coaches. I firmly agree with that. I think
that's somewhere in the middle. I think that is a completely reasonable ask right now. I think that I think Joe John is the easiest of low hanging fruit. I think he's gone. I don't see any world where he's back. But I mean, if one of Emmett or DeMarco, I think that's a very, very like simmering take. That is not hot.
No. And I think too, it's, you have to allow Ben Arbuckle to actually have this offense be his own. Not just in the scheme, but in his staff. And you can't just drop him in, make no changes. I don't know why we thought that was going to work. We criticized that at the time. And, let the guy make a couple changes. I know you're going to lose some people of the OU family, but you have to make changes, and it has to be his. You have to give him a go.
Yeah. My guess is probably Emmett's the guy. I doubt that's DeMarco. DeMarco's played his game. Like he'll probably do it next offseason to where he tries to play off for some more money and eventually he's going to get burned for it. He's done a really damn good job of playing other job offers. What was it, like Penn State and Ohio State, I think, and he got a recent raise last offseason, I believe. So I bet you he's going to keep it low, and I bet you we won't change things. And I mean, Jonathan Hatton probably is under the impression that it's DeMarco Murray too. He obviously had a great relation. He's been a great recruiter, just not a great developer. And it's obviously been very showing. I think I if I'm an OU fan, I would be deep down hoping that he gets gone, and that's me too. But at the same time, I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. We'll see how it goes. And he has had the recruiting kind of saving his ass constantly, which, look, I understand. Recruiting wins are great, but development, it just has to get better. It just has to get better. So.
Yeah. So I think like rounding out with this offense and this offensive game, I think there's a lot to be proud of too. We're going to look a lot at the negatives. We really are. But I think John Mateer, in my eyes, in my view, and you can disagree with me, I think he looked better than what he's had throughout the season. He was starting to make some plays and some throws that I said, damn, that had some zip on it. That was a great throw. Those were plays that I saw earlier on in the season. Earlier on in the season, he still had some mistakes. I get that. But I saw an improvement, made me really excited for. And I think that moving forward, that is something we should really be proud of as a fan base, that, hey, things didn't go our way in this game. But I think that we're not this anemic offense that some of us thought we were in that Texas game. It improved.
No, I mean, shoot, they put up 17-0 on Alabama. That's, not anemic. I gotta ask, what were your thoughts on the Xavier Robinson drop, where Mateer rolls out to got in the first?
He alligator armed it. It's like he thought it was gonna be out of reach, and he just didn't make the extra effort for it, and it was just a bad play of judgment. And obviously, that's what happens when you get a running back out in a big route like that. How often do you have Xavier Robinson going out and catching those balls? Very few. Right. So I think there's a lot of instincts there. And maybe, I mean, another part of it is like whenever you have to really extend yourself, that's going to put a lot of pressure on your knee. And I mean, there probably could be some of that too. Like a guy that wasn't healthy. I'm giving him some excuses here, but the fact of the matter is there's no excuses. That completely changes the whole game. He catches it. He doesn't even run into the end zone. It completely changes the whole game. And we say this all the time in this podcast. And it was like the butterfly effect thing. Yeah. Like, what if Mateer would have ran it instead of passed it? And no, he made the right play. It was a damn good ball, and it just didn't go our way. And then the dominoes hit, and it sucked.
Yeah. And I mean, if it did hit, it's like, oh, look, there you go. John Mateer's finally seeing guys downfield. What a crafty move. And if he just scrambled, it'd be like, oh, he missed him. He was wide open. It'd be one of those situations. So I don't know. It ended up in, really one of the only, just an awful situation. And then Grayson Miller, I mean, what the hell? What the hell was that, man? Our friends at Channel Tennessee, he must have been shaken. Friends at Channel Tennessee, radio was texting me. It was like, I'm telling you, there's a conspiracy. There's something going on here. And I'm like, guys, trust me. It's a UCO grad just making a mistake.
Yeah.
What the hell was that, man?
He wasn't ready for the moments. I think the moments were too big for him. Bad punts. Obviously, it was pretty. I mean, it was everywhere. It's been windy across the whole country. I wasn't there, but I just assumed that obviously there's some wind gusts going back and forth. Obviously, with the Tate Sandell kick too. But it's like a windy environment, raucous, pressure filled, and he just wasn't there for it.
The Sandell thing was. So Sandell's kicks at the end, specifically, the wind was with him. I don't know what happened on it.
It looked like it moved. Enough. It moved a lot, and obviously that can still be the way that you kick it. But I don't know if there was a gust at that time.
It was like a southwestern wind for most of that day.
Yeah.
So I could
see like it. That still doesn't make an excuse. Like obviously it's a 30-something yard field goal. You've got to kick it to where you read the wind. Like you just do that. But I don't know. It was a weird day for special teams, and I think we can get mad at a lot of people the most. I'm going to probably put most of my anger at Grayson. That's
Yeah.
really what it is. Because Mateer's pick six, while careless and unfortunate, an unfortunate read, maybe miscommunication between him and the wide receiver. Sucks. Stuff like that happens to even the best of quarterbacks in the league. I understand he's been doing a lot of poor decisions recently, but still, that happens. Dropping the ball whenever you're going into your lead up with the punt is not just a bang bang oopsie daisy. That is you genuinely screwed up. That is a highly, highly controllable thing. And that's what we should be mad at the most.
Well, not only that, but there are multiple other punts that were just awful. And when you talk about one of the things that this OU team has helped them thrive on and survive on has been field position, and it just completely kneecaps you when your offense isn't doing what it needs to do, and then you have just awful punts. And if you have both of those things going against you, it's hard to really expect your defense to do a ton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, momentum is so huge in football. It is so in all sports really, but it's so huge in football. And once you lose it, that snowball goes, and that snowball started, Bobby, with that punt.
Oh, no doubt. And I mean, this, if you want to point to hey, momentum's real, this is the game you point to. It was, I mean, genuinely the best environment I've ever seen in that stadium, without a doubt. From the moment, not even the moment you walk in, from the tailgating, everything going on there, directly into 17-0. It was by far the best environment. It was the best pregame. It was the best. The production was insanely good. OU's production team, I'm so proud of them. They've taken it up to a totally different level. The crowd was loud as hell. It was excellent. And in the span of 4 minutes, we ended up, I mean, you're in the bathroom line, and it's like someone died, genuinely catatonic. It was awful. And it wasn't until really the 50 Cent moment that there was any sort of momentum or any sort of positivity that OU was going to win that game. And it was,
we got a lot of hate about that 50 Cent moment, but that was after that, we got that touchdown. After that, I was like, ooh, this could be rally 50 Cent. And we're going to get hate on it now, but in the moment, Bobby, I thought, ooh, that was it.
Yeah, someone in one of our chats, our group chats, said it backfired. It absolutely didn't. We scored because of that 50 Cent moment, I'm telling you. And, I mean, that next defensive possession, crazy again. Just got right back after it. But, really just couldn't capitalize off that momentum beyond that. You got the 3 and out, or maybe not 3 and out, but OU ended up getting the ball back, but couldn't do anything. And it just fizzled. And you can't have a lot of opportunities. You can't give a lot of opportunities to a team as talented as Alabama. And, a lot of people have said this, and you do really got to give them credit. The mental fortitude to just stick with it, that drive that they had to, cut it to 17-7. That took some stones. That took some real, just positive, thinking to get to just stay in that game. Because they were toast, man. They were toast.
Yeah, so then that next drive after the 50 Cent was they did nothing except for that 37-yard catch to Isaiah Horton, which obviously was a oh god moment. But then we forced a fumble that they recovered, and then we sacked Ty Simpson, putting them out of any kind of hope for field goal territory. And that's whenever they punted the ball to the 8-yard line, and we 3 and outed. And
the Horton one was the one with the false start, right?
Back. The Horton, yes, that was.
It's awful.
That was
awful.
That was everyone on the TV saw it. Everyone in the fan stand saw it. And I get it. They said it on the broadcast. It's oh, that's the NFL style where they get that extra little half second, Yeah, you see that in the NFL some, but should it be? No, no, that's just bad football. You should not let their offensive tackles get a half second. You shouldn't let their left tackle, who some people think is a first round draft pick, continuing to hold our Mason Thomas the whole game. I'm not going to argue refs.
It's not the reason we lost. It's not the reason OU lost.
But But I'll tell you, Caden Proctor had R. Mason Thomas in a headlock for about 3 or 4 plays this game, and it was ridiculous.
Yeah. No, I mean it. I haven't gone back and watched too much of the film, obviously. But yeah, I've seen the screenshots. It's rough. But that's just kind of the style of the Big Ten crew. Like they don't call a lot of penalties. They kind of allow a lot more to
Except for that
go.
late hit on Taylor Wine.
That was awful. And
he tried his
and
best
apparently
to
the
get
sideline.
But he followed through with his arm. What do you expect him to do? Like he's just moving momentum play. He pulled back.
So bad.
There's no malintent there. That's just stupid.
I think too, it's like human nature if you're running towards a guy to like kind of throw something up, just I don't know. It was bad. I feel like there were there definitely were mistakes from OU side of point of view. I thought I think it was EPL, was it?
Yeah.
With a late hit. That was really bad.
Yeah, that sucks. And that's like EPL's got that kind of like that little chip on his shoulder style where he goes the little extra mile. And he's gotten in trouble, I think, at least one other time this season too, doing something similar to that.
Yeah. That's what happens when you employ the wild card, Jameson,
Yes.
You never know.
Redshirt freshman, didn't start the season, came into his own, plays with the fire. This is time where he can kind of contain that and use it for positive. Still super young. I'm still optimistic, but obviously it's good to have a little bit of fire in your belly as an offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. He just hasn't figured out how to rein it in yet.
Yeah. It sometimes he cuts the brakes, and you don't need that. But I think overall, I don't know. It just, it was a winnable game. And I think that's the thing that's going to be the most haunting thing about it all.
Oh, of course.
Especially if Alabama goes on a run.
And there's every single sports fan thinks about jinxing and not getting ahead of yourselves. But at the same time, all of us in that beginning of the second quarter were thinking about the Rose Bowl. We were thinking about it. It was 17-0. Our vibes are high. Our brains, go off into that area. You think about how good this team looks and how we could do this to an Indiana team. We were thinking about that. And whenever that's taken away from you and then completely shifted, it hurts and it makes you look like a fool. Whenever you look like a fool, that's when sadness kicks in. And that's why I still feel sad, because I feel like a fool.
Because you start picturing like, oh my God, what if the bracket like lines up perfectly and they go on a run, and you can just allow yourself to dream a bit. And I think in a single elimination situation, it hurts more because it can be taken away from you just so quickly. If this was a 7-game series thing, it's like a slow burn of having your hopes and dreams, crushed. But like a one-off, it's just the worst.
It sucks. It sucks. And the reality of it is, Bobby, we going up 17-0 was not something we expected or most expected. I think that a lot of people think that OU could have, controlled the narrative for the beginning of the game. But to get 17-0 that quick, that seemed a little too good to be true. And I'm not saying the law of averages came in, but this is a team that Brent Venables has said that like this team can win any game, but it's going to be a dogfight. And a 17-0 blowout's not really a dogfight. We got into a dogfight, and the other side of the coin where all of the stupid mistakes went Alabama's way. And like I said at the beginning of the pod, that's football. That happens, and it sucks that it happened to us. And we lost because sports go sometimes they go your way and sometimes they don't. And just ended up being a bad day for us.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's like roulette. You're just sticking on black. It's hitting on black, hitting on black, hitting on black. One of these times it's going to go red or green, and it's going to hurt you. And
then it'll go red 7 times in a row, and your Martindale strategy is in the trust, and you realize, exactly. Oh God.
Exactly. And that's just kind of how it happens.
Please don't martingale strategy, listeners. That is not financial advice.
No, it is not. It is not. Man.
Yeah. But I mean, as a defense, Bobby, positives, because I think right now, as a fan base, a lot of us will continue to look at negatives because that's what we want to talk about. That's what we want to correct. As humans, we want to correct things and fix things. As positives, that defensive scheme for that first quarter and a half, what we were doing to the brain of Ty Simpson, and doing to my brain as a watcher, was unbelievable. We were putting out some crazy formations. What our game plan was, the beginning of the game, was amazing for defense. And that's where it's like Brent Venables is that dude. Now, it tailored off, but that's how football is. You have to adapt and change things. But whenever we could control what we could control and put out, crazy formations and trick the quarterback, we did so damn good. And it looked like that, like whenever Alabama was on defense, they said on this, the announcer said this too. It's like, it doesn't even look the same. It doesn't even look close to the same of what we're doing and what we're putting out there just scheme wise.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty damn phenomenal defensively, looking up at the scoreboard at one point, Alabama has 12 total yards, like pretty well into the game. It was astonishing. It was just truly beautiful. And
3 straight 3-and-outs, man, dude. It was so awesome.
And you got to give Alabama credit for adjusting. They found a way to. They found a way to kind of keep Ty Simpson clean. Hey, Ty Simpson did a good job of staying in the game pretty well, and make some. Their biggest thing the entire game, I felt like, were massive pass plays. They that freshman, 17, having a couple big ones. The Jermaine Bernard, just insane. Moss of poor Jacoby Johnson, just yeah.
And I mean, like, as an Alabama team, like the way that their offense is and the way that Grubb really has called their offense, it really does put a lot onto the passing game. And that's how Alabama looked really damn good in the middle of the season, is because they were passing with the best of them. They have some really damn good wide receivers. And I think we did a good job scheming out, and a true freshman came up and showed out, and that was WR4 at the very least for them. And that's how you go out and win big games. Big time players make big plays, and it could be a guy that you weren't expecting. Eli Bowen last year versus Alabama, like guys like that. And I think Lazier Brooks put his name into the history books, and we're going to talk about him next year in the same breath that we were probably talking about Ryan Williams, I bet. Just because if he continues to do this and have that high of praise from the coaching staff, which he did, he's going to be highly hyped next year.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. That's just Alabama for you. They still have, they don't have the same depth they used to have, but their depth is still just unreal. So.
Yeah. And this Alabama team, I don't, it's not like a thing where it's like, oh, we just lost to them and I think they're going to run through the playoffs. I think they can give Indiana a really good fight. Obviously their offense can give anyone a good fight, but I think there's a lot of deficiency here that I feel like, oh, you really did capitalize on and do really well against it. I think that a really good team is going to stomp Alabama, and it's going to suck. We're going to see Alabama get stomped in these next one of these couple games, and we're going to be like, ugh, we lost to that team.
Yeah, because I don't think they have the same zip that like Ohio State did last year. Ohio State was a pretty damn complete team that just completely. I don't know what you can call that Michigan game, but they just no showed it and got a second chance at life and looked totally different. That isn't quite this Alabama team, who I still think is really good. But I don't know. I don't think that's like a run the table type of team. But
but props to Alabama. I think that the ability to look conflict in the face and be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation, it takes a lot of mental fortitude, and they did it. A lot of teams would crumble, and they didn't. Mm-hmm. And I understand that they got some gifts to do that. They really did have some gifts to do that. But that fourth down touchdown that got them to 17-7. We don't talk about that enough. I think that drive took a lot of stones and really scrounged out a opportunity for them to be put in a position where they could take back the lead.
Yeah, no, I mean it. I don't want to say that's the ball game, but if OU stops him there, that's a backbreaker.
Yeah.
And changes.
There's a lot of little things with games like this where it's like, oh, this little thing goes OU way, maybe it would have been fine. Yeah. That's it. But also, like, there are some plays that OU made where it's like, holy crap, like that was a really damn good play. How did we capitalize on that? And so, It sucks. It really does suck. But I'm sitting here and I think I was really sad and grumpy yesterday. We're recording this on Sunday. So on Saturday, the day after, I was really grumpy for a lot of the day. But I'm choosing right now to not let that hate foil through me. I'm not gonna let the dark side come in and be like, you know what? My viewpoint of this football team right now compares to where it was last year is night and day. And I think we have a lot to look forward to as a fan base. And that's what it is, Bobby. Like we all want the best for this football team. And right now, dwelling on the negatives of the season is not going to be fruitful. Looking towards the future and what we have, I feel very, very confident in this team. That's going to be a team that makes me a happy football fan.
Yeah. I mean, I feel after this that we're, I mean, you feel like there's actually, a path forward to getting back to winning a national championship where that can be the expectation. And I know there are fans who are like, that is the expectation and it should be the expectation. But like in terms of a realistic outlook of how this a season's going to go, I feel like next year, provided OU makes the right moves, makes the right changes, hits it out of the park in the portal, I think that's a thing you can start talking about and
Yeah,
really,
let's talk
really
about
expect
it.
for. Yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
turn the page a little bit and take a gander at what we got going on.
Actually, wait, one last thing, Bobby. We always do this.
Yeah,
I always try to move us on too quick, and we don't talk about environment.
fair.
From the TV side and then from the in-person side here. I want to give so many roses to the people behind the scene for game day environment for Oklahoma. They did amazing. That on the field lights show thing that they did, that was like on the level of like what you'd see at like hockey in NBA games in like the finals that you have an indoor arena. At an outdoor arena, the college game day team was speechless and I was speechless. That was peak FOMO. It was unbelievable on TV. Were you there in time in your seats to see
Yeah.
all that?
Oh yeah, we got there.
Dude,
We got there
that was
early,
so cool.
and like where our seats are, so it was like
Mhm.
perfect with how we were perfectly high up, 50-yard line. I was astonished. And I will say, I had been to, or I was at Neyland for the dark mode game, and this rivaled that in terms of the production, in terms of all of that. It was the closest thing I've ever seen to that, and that was by far the best production I had ever seen at a sporting event. And you could tell that OU has learned from their other experiences at other places that are like, we need to replicate this. We need to see what we can do at this, and bring it to Norman. And I mean, they completely knocked it out of the park. It was awesome.
And that was so cool that it legitimately changed Desmond's pick from Alabama to Oklahoma on the spot, which is so cool.
It
Which is so
felt like
cool.
the entire atmosphere. I'm telling you, Jameson, it felt like we weren't going to lose. It was like we are not losing this game tonight.
And that's what
And
you pay the big bucks
yeah,
for, and that's where you go to these games, and to feel that, like, obviously, you want stellar, production on the field, but, like, our football program doing that kinda stuff too, like, that was what makes it so fun to be a Sooner fan. Like, those
well, and
games, those moments right there, you're unforgettable.
they made it feel the entire day felt special, and I think that you got to give a lot of credit, and you can't take that sort of thing for granted, especially uh, as someone who witnessed the NBA Finals this year, night and day in terms of feeling like this was an important event. OU pulled out every single stop to make this feel massive. You had the banners, on both sides of the stadium. During the little scene setter, Toby Rowland like leaned out of the window and like fit it, like kind of did the like fight alive for the palace on the prairie, which was really cool. He kind of pulled a Harry Carey there. Like that was just, I mean, it was the it was everything you would hope a college football playoff game at home would feel like. It felt different. It felt big. There was by far like one of the best sunsets I've ever seen, like in Norman. I know that sounds silly, but just the entire day felt
You're a
like
big sunset guy, Bobby. I know
beautiful.
you are.
Oh yeah, no, with Oklahoma, like yeah, I mean it was like Oklahoma was really showing off, and like you said, got to give game ops team a massive credit there.
It was so, so cool. I was just sitting there like mouth open watching that whole thing. And like the way that they were showing it, they had to do picture in a picture to where they showed the show, and you could tell no one on game day wanted to talk and say anything. It was just all reaction. They were wanting to watch it itself. So, man, good on them. Good on OU, and good on bringing 50 Cent out too. Like, shout out. You can't, whenever you make that deal, you can't figure out where we're going to be in that game. We could be losing big. We could be winning big. I still think it was an electric moment, that even that the rumors came out that it was going to happen, still super cool.
Well, how many dumb message board rumors have we seen over the years? We're like, there's no way. Like the whole, we're going to hire Dabo Sweeney and Drake's going to introduce him. And we've seen him. You remember that? We've seen a billion of these. And it was like, I remember seeing him like, oh no, there's no way. There's no way. And in Stadium, they play the intro, and then they show a shot of just a microphone hanging down from, the ceiling. And I'm like, no way. And there's 50 Cent, who I will say, horrible performance on his end.
I think
some of it's mixing. Some of it was the mixing, because there wasn't enough instrumental, but it was lackluster. Rap is not good for performance.
It doesn't matter. It all matters is he's out there.
It's difficult. It's different, especially when you're having to censor yourself to that song.
Yeah.
Jameson, as a fan of censored rap, you know how difficult that is.
Yeah, it takes a special person to censor out some rap songs.
It's a problem.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But I think that even though we lost, I think for people there at that game, I'm speaking for someone who watched it from the couch. I think that's a game that you'll remember forever.
Yeah, it will be. And not necessarily even because of, the way we lost and all of that. I mean, that obviously a part of it, but it was a special day. It was just really a great time, and, I'm certainly, I love it. I can't wait for you to get back to a home playoff game. That they say what you will about the CFP expansion and, if the sport's doing the right thing, that was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And the fact that we haven't had it ever is mind-boggling to me. And anything we could do to not only have these games, like protect them, but have more of them going forward. Yeah. Because if you're Texas Tech, you got to be like a little salty about that. If you're if you're Georgia, you got to be salty about not getting one of those, because it's so much cooler than a bye.
Yeah, I think the player's not as much salty, but I'm sure there's a lot of people in the staff, and in the ops team that would want that. But yeah, all in all, super cool game. Sucks that it didn't go our way, but it's time to move on. You got anything else to say, Bobby, before we talk about Portal and stuff?
No, just gotta move on. But special season, some incredible moments that, like, yeah, it sucks we didn't win the national championship, but they can't take that feeling you had, watching R. Mason Thomas sprint down the field at Neyland away from you. You can't take that feeling of, oh my God, we might actually have something here when you beat Michigan away from you. You can't take the R. Mason Thomas sack of Jackson Arnold in the end zone away from you. Even Alabama, even that win against Alabama in Tuscaloosa, they can't take that from you. And I think that's special, not to sound like a sappy loser here, or, I don't know, trying to come up with like everyone gets a ribbon, but life genuinely is what you make of it, and experiences, all of this sort of stuff, it is what you make of it. And I think this is a season we're going to remember for a long, long time. And even though it doesn't end in any hardware, I think it's special.
Yep.
To say the least.
Yep, I agree with you. Yeah. So Portal, I think the big news that people have started to see, and we might even see more by the time y'all are going to start listening to this, is Kobe McKenzie hitting the portal. And I think that we're going to probably see, and this is not me having some insider information, this is just what college football is nowadays, is probably see some guys that are impact people, or maybe some future stars that we hoped to have hit the portal, because that's just the way it is. And I think the linebacking crew, Bobby, you see Kobe McKenzie hit, and you see Kip Lewis participate in senior day. You see Owen Heineke talk in the post-game press conference trying to get his extra year of eligibility and say he doesn't sound that optimistic. A lot of that comes down to oh God, that deep linebacker room I'm starting to get scared of. But I think Samuel Masigo shown some great things. But I think that Kobe McKenzie thing is still going to hurt.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, a seasoned guy, having someone who knows the system, it's a complex system. Having him exit is really tough. But, gave 4 years to the program, plenty of respect there. Definitely not something to be, maybe honestly, none of this stuff is probably anything to really be upset about. But yeah, to lose someone who's been in the room for 4 years definitely sucks. Sucks to say the least. And, hopefully the NCAA does the right thing with Heineke, but we're trusting the NCAA to make a good decision here. And that usually doesn't work out well.
No. Yeah, you're exactly right. So it's, the portal is going to taketh and it's going to giveth, and we're going to go out head hunting for a linebacker. And let me just shift to something that I said earlier, Bobby. People are going to watch this and be like, I want to play in that defense. I want to go out there. I want to be coming downhill. Who in college football who plays linebacker doesn't want to play the role of Kip Lewis?
Yeah.
Who? There's going to be so many people want to. You know how many big time plays Kip Lewis got to do? You know how many times where he was running full steam downhill coming after the quarterback? Did it plenty of times with Ty Simpson. And I think that really we're going to have our pick of the litter when it comes down to people that are available and unavailable in the portal. Really, I think that we will be able to poach some really damn good players. And now I think that having guys that have been in the system for a long time are the ones that are going to do have the most success. And so having Heineke back, I think, is the biggest target we can get. But I think for talent in this room, I think we're going to have plenty of it still, even if we only have 1 or 2 guys returning that we feel good about.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only the number one destination for preparing you for the pros, the next level, all of that, but it's just a fun ass defense to play. I obviously haven't played football in many, many years and hadn't exactly played at a very high level, but there's nothing more fun than playing defense, and your job is to just go out and just kill, just go. It's beyond fun. That is the best way to play defense. And Brent Venables has a scheme that is very, very fun to play. So,
yeah, I think that really, there's a lot to be scared whenever you don't have that answer in the future. This defense next year, even if we lose some guys in the portal that may be I don't have any kind of news here, but peripheral guys, I still feel really damn good whenever I know for sure. Well, not for sure, but I feel Taylor Wine is going to be on one end of that defensive end room. And then you'd figure PJ would come back for his senior year, show some great things. And then having Jane Jackson, David Stone in the middle, I think that's a hell of a system and Danny Okoye too, to add some big time talent around them. That is a great, great backbone of a front seven that a front four that's going to really allow the back seven to really succeed. And talk about returners, Bobby. We got plenty of youth in the secondary too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the secondary is great. I think that D line, you have to be very optimistic with. A guy I'm really interested to see what OU does for, his replacement is Kendall Daniels. Because that guy is, as we've seen with the cheetah position, you can kind of go a bunch of different roles with it. You could go the smaller way, you could go with a bigger type of guy, but you really need a Kendall Daniels because he is just that perfect blend of speed, size, versatility. Can drop back in coverage, but also he was a really, really damn good cheetah. And
I don't know if we're going to find another Kendall Daniels.
No, that's the problem is, sometimes you try to, find someone in the portal like a Tassan McCullough and it doesn't quite work out, but I think
we learned from our mistake with Tassan McCullough. We're going to find someone who's I think we learned from our mistake with Tassan McCullough. I think that they learned and they figured this out whenever they realized how much they had in Kendall Dolby of a guy who can play coverage as well is going to be the most important thing. And so, like I said, with the same thing with the linebackers, I guarantee you there's a lot of players out there that could play that role. Might not be a Kendall Daniels, but somewhere close. that go out there, and that's going to be a really, really easy pitch to a lot of players out there.
Yeah.
And now, do I expect anyone to come in and pick it up as well as Kendall Daniels did? No, that's a hard ask. But when it comes down to it, if we can keep Reggie Powers, I think that I'd still feel good if Reggie Powers ended up playing there if we didn't have a good option that behind him.
That's a really good point there.
And I love Reggie Powers, and obviously, that's a guy that I think that has made a lot of big plays for us this year, and I think sees an opportunity with RSJ leaving, to kind of say like, hey, I understand he plays a little bit more of a different role than what RSJ does, but I think that Reggie could really go out in there and be a big guy for this team. Obviously, I think that the safety room, Bobby, is something that does scare me. Like, I really want to do whatever I can to hold on to Reggie and hold on to Boganowski, because I guarantee you there's going to be some programs out there that are going to be offering them the world, give them a big NIL check and a guaranteed starter whenever they still kind of have to scratch to get their way into the rotation.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't even thought about, the possibility of those guys getting poached. And
I'm scared. There's gonna be one guy, or maybe even two guys in the defense of that caliber that are gonna leave, and I think those are the guys that scares me the most. That just like looking at like the logistics here, Kobe made sense, but like there's gonna be something like that's gonna be really disappointing.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. I gotta say, I think there is opportunity the other way to bring guys in. It's a portal that's going to be just completely. It looks to be very full of talent, but
yeah. And I'll say this, Bobby, and I don't think that this is like a hot take at all. People look at the portal right now and be like, "Oh, Kamari House from North Carolina, he's a really damn good player." The guys that probably this coaching staff want, this scouting staff want, are probably not in the portal. They're probably not in the portal. It's the way that things are going to function is they're going to hit the portal because they're coming to OU. So it's just a waiting. It's just a waiting game right now, just to see of like who is it going to be, because I think that the biggest moves of big name players, there's a couple where they get in and then a bidding match happens. Like we've seen that with what was that tackle that ended up going to Tennessee, Lance Hurd. Like things like that where Oklahoma's in these bidding matches. A lot of the times, it's they get in and they come. Kendall Daniels was different, obviously. But I think that especially for our defense, I think that it's not going to be as much of for the guys that we really want. I think that they're going to have quick portal stints.
Yeah. And that's the way to really act on it is just jump in on it, because you don't want to get in a bidding war with Ohio State, with some of these just, other massive programs that can throw a ton of money at them. And yeah, I don't know. It's not the way to go.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that people want to talk about in terms of like targets is like we have to get a big time wide receiver and we have to get a big time tight end. And you look at the NCAA and it's like, who is that going to be? There's some pipe dreams here, but it's going to be hard. It's going to take a lot of money. It's going to take a lot of money.
Yeah. And I mean, OU's already missed out on a couple guys. Oklahoma State kid. I'm blanking on the name that is going to Alabama. That sucks. It's tough. And, honestly, there's probably going to have to be some stability one way or the other. You're going to have to announce Joe John back, which I would find to be absolutely insane, or you fire him and get someone else. And it's going to have to be someone.
He's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. He's gone. He's got to be gone. So you probably need a new tight end coach in. You need to have the wide receiver coach, confirmed. Yeah. And I think we'll surely hear about that in the coming days as to what happens with that. But
yeah, I'm really curious though, just like to see like where we go in the wide receiver portal, because I think that what we're missing is, like I said, a big outside wide receiver. And what it comes down to, but you look at John Mateer, he really does kind of like those smaller guys. Obviously, Kyle Williams at Washington State, that's really where he made a lot of his money. But I think that we need a little bit more variation, especially in SEC, a guy who can just go up there and get it. We already talked about Cam Coleman. Another guy that I really like that maybe if we threw an absolute bag, he could avoid going to the NFL. But I don't know where his draft grades are. Like Deuce Robinson at Florida State, he's 6'6". He's looked really damn good. Like I was really, but I think that's going to take a lot of money to get away.
Yeah, I mean, some of that does kind of help given where he was at last year, how bad Florida State was. So it's, a thing where, hey, run it back, improve your draft grade, get some more tape.
Yeah. And I think that college football money is going to start to rival some pro money too. You've seen it with the quarterback scene right now, but I mean, I think big skill like wide receivers, edge players can start to say, hey, I should have money still in my future with NFL, but I can get a guaranteed paycheck again with going to college. I think there's very, very few scenarios like Jay Knott that are going to happen. But I think that a big time junior could still forego the NFL draft and get one more year in college and get that, couple $1 million paycheck.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely something you'll see more of. I mean, the money in this sport is just going through the roof, and it doesn't seem like it's stopping anytime soon, and we'll see. But any final thoughts on the future? Or, I know we obviously have some time to talk about that, but
yeah, it'll come. And whenever it comes, we'll talk about it. I'm excited to see these portal things. They'll start to come. We're going to get really excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Jameson, it's the end of the road for the 2025 season. Thank you so much for being with me, the whole way. Thanks to Ty as well. It was a really fun one. This is a whole lot more fun than talking about that garbage last year where you're losing to everybody and there's just no joy, no hope. This year, we get to end it with some hope. We get to look forward to the future. There's optimism. There's stuff to be, there are fixes that can be made that don't involve a total reworking. This is progress in the right step and something to be truly excited about. And I hope that everybody watched along with us this season, listened along with us, also enjoyed the ride. It's been really fun, been fun doing the weekend spread, which we'll keep doing, as the season advances and everything. We'll look, if you're a Thunder fan, we'll fire up some Morning Thunder a little bit more here. Now that we have that to lock in a little bit more on. Final words for 2025, Jameson.
No, I think a lot to be proud of, and you have a choice as a fan of figuring out how you want to take this. And if you want to be angry about it, go for it. If you want to be optimistic about it, go for it too. I'm going to be a little bit of both, but going into as the days pass, I'm going to continue to be like, what can I do to bring happiness to myself from this team? Because that's what sports is. How can I get happiness out of it? And I think that there's still so much fun and excitement to have as we look into this offseason.
Yep. Well said, Jameson. All right. For me and Jameson, this has been the 2025 season of the Schooner Pod. We'll see you next time, everybody. Boomer Sooner, y'all.